I was driving home from a late-night movie, the highway deserted and quiet. My phone was dead, the radio was busted, and the only sound was the low hum of my tires on the asphalt. I needed gas, so I pulled into the first station I saw, a dingy place lit by flickering fluorescent lights. As I got out of the car, a sudden thud echoed from the back of the station, sharp and metallic. I froze, my heart pounding in my chest. Was it just the wind knocking something over? It had sounded heavy, solid. I glanced around, the emptiness of the station suddenly ominous. The silence was thick, broken only by the distant hum of a generator. I told myself it was nothing, just my imagination playing tricks on me. I forced myself to relax, taking a deep breath of the cool night air. The smell of gasoline filled my nostrils, sharp and overpowering. I walked towards the pump, my footsteps loud on the concrete. I tried to shake off the uneasy feeling creeping up my spine, but the silence and the sudden noise had put me on edge. As I reached for the pump, I glanced back at the spot where I'd heard the noise. It was too dark to see anything, the shadows from the flickering lights dancing in the wind. I quickly filled my tank, eager to get back on the road and leave this unsettling place behind. I paid for the gas, my hand trembling slightly as I handed over the cash. The cashier, a tired-looking man with greasy hair, barely looked at me as he took the money. He mumbled something about having to change a light bulb in the back and disappeared into the store. I stood there for a moment, listening to the silence. It was unnerving, the lack of any sound except for the distant hum of the generator. I felt exposed, vulnerable. I scanned the area again, my eyes searching the darkness for any sign of movement. The highway stretched out before me, empty and dark. The only other car I had seen on my drive was long gone. I was completely alone. I felt a prickle of fear on the back of my neck. I just wanted to get out of there. I got back into my car, the seat a welcome relief from the tension that had gripped me. I started the engine, the familiar roar a comfort in the silence. As I put the car in gear, I saw a flicker of movement out of the corner of my eye. It was just a glimpse, a shadow shifting near the back of the station. I stopped the car, my hand hovering over the gear stick. My heart was pounding again, my breath catching in my throat. Was someone there, or was it just the wind playing tricks on my eyes? I stared into the darkness, trying to make out what I had seen. The flickering lights made it impossible to get a clear view. I waited, holding my breath, listening for any sound. The silence was absolute. I told myself it was nothing, just my imagination working overtime. I was tired, jumpy from being alone on the highway. I needed to get home. I took a deep breath, trying to calm my racing heart. I was being ridiculous. I put the car back in gear, my foot hovering over the accelerator. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. The glimpse of movement, the strange silence, it all felt off. I hesitated, torn between my desire to leave and the nagging feeling that something wasn't right. My phone chose that moment to buzz to life, the sudden sound making me jump. It was my best friend, Sarah. Her name flashed on the screen, a welcome distraction from the unease that had settled over me. I answered quickly. "Hey, where are you?" Sarah's voice filled the car, a welcome sound in the quiet. Her cheerful tone did little to ease the tension that had me in its grip. "I'm at a gas station," I said, my voice tight. "Just filling up." I kept my eyes on the dark corner of the station, half expecting to see the shadowy figure again. "Everything okay?" Sarah asked, picking up on the tremor in my voice. "You sound weird." "Yeah, I'm fine," I lied. "Just tired. Long drive." I didn't want to worry her, but I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. The engine sputtered, coughed, and died. I groaned in frustration, hitting the steering wheel with the palm of my hand. Of course, my car would choose this exact moment to act up. "What was that?" Sarah asked, her voice sharp with concern. "My car just died," I said, my voice flat. I tried the ignition again, but the engine only made a strangled sound. "Great," I muttered under my breath. I could feel Sarah's concern through the phone. "Don't worry," I said, trying to sound more confident than I felt. "I'll figure it out." But as I hung up the phone, a wave of fear washed over me. I was stranded, alone in this creepy gas station with a car that refused to start, and a growing sense of dread twisting in my gut. The shadows from the flickering lights seemed to lengthen, closing in on me. I was trapped. I took a deep breath, forcing myself to stay calm. Panicking wouldn't help. I needed to assess the situation. I got out of the car, the cool night air doing little to ease the heat of fear that was building inside me. As I walked around to the front of the car, I saw it. The figure, standing in the same dark corner of the station, partially obscured by the flickering lights. It was tall and thin, almost skeletal, and it seemed to be watching me. I froze, my blood turning to ice in my veins. My mind screamed at me to run, to get back in the car and lock the doors, but my feet felt rooted to the spot, my body paralyzed by fear. The figure shifted slightly, and I could have sworn I saw a flash of metal glint in the dim light. My heart pounded against my ribs, a frantic drumbeat in the silence. I had to get out of there. I turned and ran back to the store, my lungs burning with the effort. I slammed through the door, the bell above it clanging loudly. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, casting harsh shadows on the dusty shelves. "Hello!" I called out, my voice trembling. "Is anyone here?" The only response was the echo of my own voice. The cashier, the tired-looking man, was gone. The back room where he had disappeared to change the light bulb was empty. I felt a surge of panic. I was completely alone. I fumbled for my phone, my fingers shaking so badly I could barely dial. The battery icon blinked at me, a single red bar mocking my desperation. I threw the phone on the counter, the sound of it hitting the plastic sharp in the silence. I was trapped, alone with the figure in the shadows and a fear that was quickly spiraling out of control. I backed away from the counter, my eyes scanning the store for any sign of life, any weapon I could use to defend myself. But the shelves were stocked only with candy bars, dusty bags of chips, and motor oil. My heart pounded in my ears, the sound deafening in the silence. I could feel the blood draining from my face, leaving me lightheaded and dizzy. I had to get out of there. I had to get help. I ran back outside, my eyes darting to the dark corner where I had seen the figure. It was gone. I scanned the area, my heart in my throat. The station was deserted, the only sound the wind whistling through the gas pumps. I ran to my car, my hands shaking as I fumbled with the keys. I unlocked the door and threw myself inside, slamming the door shut and locking it behind me. I leaned against the steering wheel, my chest heaving, my body trembling with fear. I tried the ignition again, my foot pressing down hard on the accelerator. The engine sputtered, coughed, and then miraculously roared to life. I didn't hesitate. I put the car in gear and sped out of the station, my tires spitting gravel as I pulled onto the highway. I didn't look back. I drove until the gas station was nothing but a distant point of light in my rearview mirror. Even then, I didn't slow down. I drove until the sun began to rise, painting the sky in hues of pink and orange. I finally pulled over at a truck stop, my body still buzzing with adrenaline. I stumbled into the brightly lit diner, the smell of coffee and bacon a welcome contrast to the stale air of my car. I ordered a cup of coffee and a plate of pancakes, my hands shaking so badly I could barely hold the mug. As I sat there, sipping my coffee and trying to calm my nerves, I couldn't shake the feeling that I had been in real danger. The figure in the shadows, the disappearing attendant, the overwhelming sense of dread, it had all felt too real, too close for comfort. I knew I would never forget that night at the gas station. It was a night that had tested my limits, a night that had shown me the true face of fear. And as I drove away from the truck stop, the rising sun doing little to chase away the shadows in my mind, I knew that a part of me would always be haunted by the memory of that terrifying experience.